Hello and welcome to the U.S. Open Cup Recap Show. I'm your host, Riley Maletsky. You can follow me on Twitter at Riley Maletsky, but today we're going to recap the Round 2 action in the U.S. Open Cup and preview the Round 3 matchups. But first, let's start in North Carolina as Charlotte Independents are hosting the UPSL side, Florida Soccer Soldiers. The Independents, of course, are out of USL Championship. This was an electric match. The Independents did dominate possession early in the game. They scored in the 28th minute. And then the second half, Florida Soccer Soldiers equalized in the 78th minute. They were chasing the match, though, early on in the second half, and even at one point in the 55th minute, their keeper came up and took a free kick at the top of the box, which is interesting. Yes, the keeper probably has the most practice taking free kicks and penalty kicks due to warm-ups and training sessions with other goalkeepers, but it leaves the Soccer Soldiers vulnerable, leaving the net open that early on in the match. Thankfully for the Soccer Soldiers, that didn't come back to bite them, but still interesting call by the head coach there. In the 78th minute, like I mentioned earlier, off a cross and a header, the Soccer Soldiers equalized to make it 1-1. And then heading into stoppage time, the Soccer Soldiers are shown a second yellow card to Antony Gonzalez, and he's sent off the field. So the Soccer Soldiers are playing a man down, and in the 92nd minute, a huge save by the Florida keeper, Bryant Martin, created an opportunity for the Charlotte Independents to score off a rebound, but it was called offside, and going into extra time, the score is 1-1. Very questionable offside call. It looked like from the live angle that the Charlotte Independents player was onside, but after further review, it was a good call by the referee to call the Charlotte Independents player offside and take the goal away. So 1-1 going in the extra time. Soccer Soldiers are down a man due to two yellow cards shown to Gonzalez. And Enzo Martinez gets a shot early in the extra time, and the Independents get the rebound and poke it in, make it 2-1. Looks like all is good for the Independents. They're dominating possession. The Soccer Soldiers are sitting back. They're down a man. They're vulnerable if they want to attack. All is good for the Independents. And it looked that way for most of extra time. But as we're into stoppage time, a bad back pass by the Charlotte Independents defense gives an opportunity for the Soccer Soldiers to slot it into the back of the net and equalize and make it 2-2, and they send to penalty kicks. In penalty kicks, the Florida Soccer Soldiers made all 5 of their PKs, while the Independents made their first 4, but Enzo Martinez, the former Colorado Rapids player and former USL Championship Golden Boot winner, misses his last PK to give the Soccer Soldiers a win and advance into the third round. Crazy game. The UPSL doesn't get a huge amount of repetition and recognition, so to see them get a big win against a professional club is very good, but you have to mark this game up as the Charlotte Independents being a complete mess of an organization right now. They have coaching issues, they have general manager issues, communication issues, and it was all evident in that game. That back pass there is unacceptable for the Independents. They were dominating this game and just gave the lead away in extra time. And you saw throughout the game that the Independents have been making the same mistakes over and over again throughout the USL season. The fans are frustrated. The front office is frustrated, and they have a lot of things to work out there. It's a train wreck right now in Charlotte. But on to the next game in the U.S. Open Cup. We had the Dayton Dutch Lions out of USL League 2. They went to Pittsburgh to play the Riverhounds out of USL Championship, and the Riverhounds dominated this match from the start, winning 3-0. Then the Villages SC out of USL Championship went to the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and the Rowdies actually invited fans to come to the match for free. They did not sell tickets, and they had a fantastic atmosphere for the Rowdy faithful. The Villages, from the start, they were under fire. They had no intentions of getting any attack forward or trying to break down the Rowdies' defense. They sat back and bunkered the entire game, and the Rowdies almost got 20 shots off in the first half. The Villages SC keeper made some absolutely phenomenal saves, and he was one of the best players this round. Unfortunately for him, it was just that Once you take that many shots, some have to go in, mark it up, and chalk it up to poor defense that he was playing with. But overall, the Village's keeper, kept that game close for as long as possible. And in stoppage time in the first half, the Rowdies do get 2 goals in consolation. And that's all they needed as they ended up winning the match 4-1. New York Cosmos B out of the NPSL played Hartford Athletic out of USL Championship. And Hartford Athletic, the field was rained out, the locker rooms were flooded, so the away locker rooms were just gazebos, wedding gazebos that were put up right before the match. And those do break US Open Cup and US Soccer guidelines for what locker rooms have to be. It was a big storyline, but also with the weather issues before the match, there's not much you can do right before kickoff. In the match itself, the Cosmos, the amateur team, I'm using air quotes here because they are going to play in Founders Cup coming up this summer, but right now an amateur team did dominate possession. They look like the better team, the more talented team, and Hartford Athletic have struggled this year so far. They have yet to win a game in their first 10 matches in USL Championship. That's pretty bad for the Hartford Athletic. That's historically bad. And the Cosmos looked like they were the dominant team throughout this game, but Hartford did get an early goal. They had a nice counterattack from the Cosmos and did score early on to give the momentum to Hartford and their home crowd. And then later on in the first half, they had a free kick from the top of the box and one of the worst walls I've ever seen in soccer. They had a 2-defender wall in a very dangerous position, and this is where you want maybe 3-4 defenders here to defend the goal. So first of all, you don't have an adequate number of players on the wall. Then the player on the left splits immediately and gets completely out of the way of the ball, and the player on the right ducks away from the ball where he could have jumped and headed it away. Some terrible play by the two Cosmos player on the wall. And the goalkeeper was in a bad position, made a bad play on the ball. So all around, very, very poor defending from the Cosmos defense, and they deserve to give up that goal. Solid free kick by Hartford, but again, it should have been headed away. It was nothing too dangerous. If a decent wall was there and played that ball well on defense, then Hartford would not have scored. Cosmos do get a goal to pull one back, and it looked like they were going to get a goal in stoppage time as they were attacking well. Just some unlucky bounces for the Cosmos, but the goal they did score was an absolute stunner from about 30 yards out, top right corner. Great shot by the Cosmos. It was actually a Sports Center top 10 play the next day. South Georgia Tormenta 2, yes, I said 2, their USL League 2 side, as their USL 1 professional side got knocked out in the first round of Greenville. But their amateur team, who beat a professional team in Chattanooga Red Wolves in the first round, played another professional team, this time Nashville SC. Nashville FC played at Middle Tennessee, a local college, instead of their normal baseball field. And Tormenta looked good. They hung around with Nashville throughout the match and scored 2 goals. Final score was 2-3. I thought Tormenta had enough quality to win this match, but Nashville do slide past Tormenta. Tormenta's a sneaky good team. Their reserve side is phenomenal. Their USL League 1 team is in first place right now, and their League 2 team looks like one of the best amateur teams in the country right now. North Texas Rayados, they're in this tournament for the 8th straight year. They're playing Oklahoma City Energy at a USL Championship, who they beat last year. And this time, Oklahoma City Energy did not underestimate the Rayados and came prepared and won 3-1. Austin Bold FC played Tulsa Roughnecks, 2 USL Championship sides, and in Austin Bold's first ever Open Cup match, they get a 2-0 win. And Austin Bold did play their first choice starting lineup. They're putting all the resources into the Open Cup. That is their main goal this season. Laredo Heat SC played San Antonio FC in an NPSL versus USL Championship battle. Laredo Heat in this match, they played open, they played aggressively, they created a lot of chances for themselves, they played good soccer. They got unlucky at a few times, but they hung with San Antonio and played. It takes 2 teams to play soccer, and unlike we saw with the Soccer Soldiers or other teams where they bunkered at times, this was an amateur team that went punch for punch, throw for throw with a fully professional professional side, and a good one at that. Laredo Heat did lose 2-0 with a penalty kick and another early goal from San Antonio, but a solid match and a solid showing from the Heat. Cal FC, the former Eric Winalda coach team, plays the current Eric Winalda coach team in Las Vegas Lights FC, and the Lights had absolutely no trouble winning an easy game at Cashman. Fresno FC at a USL Championship squeaked by El Farolito, another team that bunkered a little bit and played tough to break down defense. Lansing Ignite in USL League 1 play Indy 11 in a very competitive match. Indy 11 do break away with a 1-0 win, but Lansing Ignite striker Elman Afor and former Asheville City SC striker Elman Afor, who scored 2 goals in the first round of the U.S. Open Cup for Lansing Ignite over AFC and Arbor, was knocked out of the game, was taken off the field in a stretcher and went to the hospital, still trying to figure out what was wrong with him. Then the Richmond Kickers out of USL League 1 fall 4-1 to North Carolina FC out of the USL Championship. The Kickers started off very slow in USL League 1, but are crawling their way back to third in their standings. And they had a good showing in the first round of the Open Cup, winning 6-2 against an amateur team, but North Carolina FC proved to be too much for them as they faced their former team they played frequently against in the USL Championship. Reading United AC lost to the back-to-back USL Championship champions, Louisville City SC. Charleston Battery get a big 2-1 win over the Greenville Triumph and what they're calling the Pimento Derby. Greenville FC get a corner kick early on in the game to kick off the scoring, and then the Battery get 2 back. But a very competitive game. Both teams played very well throughout the match. One of the better games of the week. Great atmosphere for the Greenville Triumph. New York Red Bulls U23s, very solid team. They don't get to practice together very often, so that's one of the drawbacks, but a very talented team nonetheless. Memphis 901 FC, a struggling USL Championship team, hoping to redeem their season in the Open Cup. Red Bulls played better than the 3-1 scoreline, but still Memphis FC deserved this win. They got the W 3-1. Birmingham Legion, USL Championship side, hosting amateur team Westchester United. Birmingham Legion get their first home win of the year with a 4-1 win over Westchester. St. Louis FC and Des Moines Menace, 1-1 draw that goes to penalty kicks. Great game by the Menace. The Menace hung in this game all day long, and they honestly deserve another goal. I thought they might have outplayed St. Louis FC. They're one of the best amateur teams there are, one of the best organizations. Very bad penalty shootout by the Menace. They lost 3-1 in PKs. Ford Madison FC, the only USL League 1 team to advance to the third round of the Open Cup, get a 3-0 win over El Paso Locomotive in USL Championship. El Paso's had a decent year, so it's a big win for Ford Madison, and they get the $25,000 for being the farthest USL League 1 team in the tournament. I think that needs to be up. This is a professional team getting only $25,000. I don't think that's enough prize money at all. Colorado Springs Switchbacks face FC Denver, and FC Denver has faced Colorado Switchbacks back-to-back seasons. This year, they were unable to score a goal, and the Switchbacks get the 1-0 win. New Mexico United, an exciting game against Phoenix Rising FC. 2-2 goes to PKs. New Mexico United wins on penalty kicks, but a great atmosphere. New Mexico United, then their inaugural season in USL Championship and their first ever US Open Cup game, are making quite the run in the USL Championship Western Conference, and hopefully they're going to continue that in the Open Cup. They have a big aspirations, and they've drawn quite the crowd this year, so the possibility of them playing an MLS club is very intriguing and definitely would be quite the draw and quite the atmosphere for New Mexico United. Reno 1868 lost 1-0 to Sacramento Republic, another fellow USL Championship team. And then Orange County FC in the NPSL faced Orange County SC in USL Championship. The story behind that is Orange County FC used to be in the USL and then in USL 1.0. Then they dropped down to the NPSL. Very, very quality NPSL organization. They're playing well out on the west coast of the NPSL. A crazy game. It ended 2-2 and then 5-3 in penalty kicks. Obviously, for commentators, this game has been absolutely mayhem with two teams with the same names, just changing FC and SC. This is the first time they've met in competitive games. So, great game. Obviously, the storylines are all there from the name and the local rivalry, but on the field, it was a great game as well. And Orange County FC stuck in there. SC was the better team throughout the game, but FC got a few lucky bounces throughout the match. Let's look at our round 3 pairings for the US Open Cup. Now, I will admit that round 3 isn't the most exciting, and you could make an argument to knock out the third round and have the MLS teams come in at one round earlier, as they come in round 4 right now. This doesn't serve much of a purpose right here, the third round. It makes it more difficult for amateur teams to make the jump to face MLS sides, and it would eliminate MLS teams playing each other in the fourth round, which is completely unintriguing. Having more USL Championship teams get an opportunity to face off MLS sides is a good thing. There's nothing bad about that whatsoever. I think it creates good storylines. It gives more shortening the tournament, making it more compact, makes it easier to watch and more intriguing. I think it gives more importance to the first rounds for USL Championship side, as they only have to have one win to face a MLS team, and then for MLS teams not having to play each other, because the main attraction for MLS teams is they're opening their stadium up a few more times, so they're getting more ticket sales. Every time they open their stadium up, they make money, and they're getting the opportunity to play teams they don't normally play, so it's an intrigue for their fans to come out. And if you're playing a team you play 3 times a year anyways, and it's a one-off knockout tournament in the first round of this tournament, there's no real intrigue from fans to come out and support the first round of the Open Cup for MLS clubs. So I think moving it up and eliminating that MLS versus MLS action in the early rounds is a good thing for the tournament overall. But let's look at what round 3 matchups we do have. We have some very interesting ones. Tampa Bay Rowdies USL Championship, Oklahoma City Energy USL Championship is interesting because we don't see many Eastern Conference versus Western Conference USL games. The only time that happens in USL is in the championship match and then in the Open Cup. So to see the Western Conference and Eastern Conference have that cross-pollination and get to match up is always exciting to see, and that is a cool thing about the Open Cup. Florida Soccer Soldiers, we talked about their matchup earlier. They're playing against North Carolina FC, so they're staying in the state of Carolina, this time going up a little bit. And I would expect a much tougher matchup than Charlotte Independence. This North Carolina team is a team that actually has the organization all together, and I expect a tough game for the Soccer Soldiers, but they are a resilient squad, so it's going to be exciting to watch. Indy 11, they take on the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Nothing too intriguing about that matchup. Louisville City and Birmingham Legion. Again, they've played earlier this year, and Louisville looked dominant for the most part, even though it was in a monsoon. Ford Madison are playing St. Louis FC, so we have a USL League One and a USL Championship. St. Louis was a team that looked vulnerable against an amateur team, and now they're playing a Ford Madison team that has put all the pieces together in USL and in the Open Cup, and have looked dominant in recent form. So that's a game that I would have an upset alert. Hartford Athletic FC, who got their first win in club history in competitive action, play another expansion team, Memphis 901 FC. Then Charleston Battery are playing Nashville SC, and one of the last times we'll see one of these geographic rivalries before Nashville SC heads off to MLS. San Antonio FC are playing Austin Bold. Austin Bold is yet to play a team outside of the USO Western Conference in the Open Cup. New Mexico United are playing the Colorado Switchbacks. I don't see New Mexico have any problem at all with Switchbacks. Fresno FC are playing Sacramento Republic. Inter California rivalry derby match. Orange County FC at NPSL are playing Las Vegas Lights FC at Cashman Field. That's a team that I would have an upset alert as well. The Lights have not looked as good as we are expecting going into this USL season. The Las Vegas Lights are going to look to add meaning to their calendar year in the Open Cup because they have struggled to find success in the USL, while Orange County are trying to make that storyline Cinderella run the US Open Cup and hope to do so against the Eric Winalda coached Las Vegas Lights team. It's going to be a tough matchup. Las Vegas Lights like to press a lot, and that's going to create a lot of pressure on Orange County when they do have possession, which shouldn't be very, very often. Excited to watch this matchup. I do predict the Lights winning this game, but it would not surprise me if Orange County can come away with a draw and win this game in penalty kicks. Signing off from the U.S. Open Cup recap show, this is Riley Maletsky again. You can follow me on Twitter at Riley Maletsky and follow along with my podcast, Roots Up Pod. It's on the Soccer Down Here network as well, where we talk all things lower divisions. And then my Georgia Revolution podcast, Revs Live, is also on Soccer Down Here. I'll be back next week to talk about the round 3 games and then talk about MLS coming into the Open Cup. We're going to look forward to all those matchups next week. Make sure you stay tuned. And until then, goodbye.